Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Courtney, and every Monday I like to put out one of these What's for Dinner videos. It just highlights the meals that I cooked over the past week. I like to share my recipes with you guys, give you a little meal inspiration, maybe some cooking motivation, whatever you need for the week. So to kick this week off, I am going to make some ribs. I'm starting off making a rub, and you can kind of just do yours however you want, but I am using some brown sugar, some onion powder, smoked paprika. I've got that Kinder's seasoning blend there, a little bit of salt and pepper, and I'm also going to use some Longhorn Steakhouse seasoning. I'm kind of just throwing a lot of things in here together, but you don't have to put that much stuff in there. Plenty of times I have made this rub with salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, brown sugar, and paprika, and they turn out fantastic every single time. The most important thing is just to get some flavor going and to get it on your meat. I really would definitely say, though, don't skip the brown sugar. It does something spectacular when it comes to ribs. It's just perfect. Anyway, I'm going to mix that really well, make sure there's no large clumps of brown sugar in there, and then I'm going to get to work on the ribs. So I'm actually cooking two different cuts of ribs. I'm going to start with these pork ribs. And if you've never worked with pork ribs before, I think it's really important to highlight the fact that on the back of them is a silver skin. And it's super tough and super chewy, and you don't want that on your meat. So before you do anything else, you really need to get that off. It's pretty simple. It just takes a couple of minutes. I flip them over, as you can see here, and I just take my knife and I kind of get the end of that silver skin to start to peel up a little bit. And then you could just use a paper towel to grip it really well, because it is slippery. There's fat on it. Just use that paper towel to grip it, and it just kind of peels off like a sticker. Mine came off in 2 large pieces. It only took a few minutes, nothing challenging, but it makes all the difference in the world when it's time to eat your ribs. Also, while you're there, if you see a little bit of extra fat that is unnecessary, go ahead and trim it off. That's what I did while I was here, and trust me, it helps. You want some fat on your ribs, but you don't want huge globs of it. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and peel off that silver skin, and then we're just going to take our rub, and we're going to rub down all sides of these ribs, front, back, edges, the whole bit. You don't have to be, you don't have to massage this for an hour and a half. Just sprinkle the seasoning on and rub it so it stays in place, and then we're going to wrap it up in aluminum foil. I'm going to do the same thing with my beef boneless ribs. I'm also going to trim them down a little bit because they were very long. And then we're going to get these guys cooking. Now, I am going to be using a smoker today. This is the first time I've ever done that for my ribs. Typically, I cook them in the oven. So if you don't have a smoker, feel free to use the oven. It turns out spectacular. I cook them between 200 and 250 degrees, as low as you can get your oven to go. And then I will do it for at least 5 hours, but I'll let it go a little bit longer. And basically, I did the same thing in the smoker, but there was some smoke involved. That was the only difference. It added a little extra layer of flavor, but if you don't have that, like I said, no big deal. It's going to work out perfect. Don't worry. Anyway, I'm just going to finish getting this meat prepped and ready to go, and then we'll move on to the next step.
They were in high school when they met, and things got kinda awkward. With sparks in the air, he would stare at her in class, and she would try to act cool. But it was obvious, like, ooh, they would be together, ooh. One day she said, write me a love song, 'cause I know you'll make it beautiful. And maybe I'll call you my sweetheart, and promise nobody can steal me away. Then I am yours, 'cause I want you, and I wanted you to know. He looked at her and then he smiled, picked up a pen and paper, started writing. Probably something about her eyes and how they're always shining, or something cliche like ooh. Baby, I only want you. It's true. And then he said,
Okay, now that my meat is all ready to go, I popped it in the fridge and I let it set for at least an hour, but overnight if you can do it, just to let that rub kind of set in. And now we're gonna make a sauce for them. I'm making my own. You could always use barbecue sauce, but I usually just do this. So I'm gonna use some hoisin sauce. I used about 2 tablespoons. Then I used that honey garlic stinger sauce. If you don't have that, no worries. Just use some honey, soy sauce, and garlic powder. Then I add in a little rice wine vinegar for a little bit of tang, and then I like some gochujang for a sweet heat. I'm adding a little bit of soy sauce, not much. And then we're going to do a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder. I'm adding in just a little bit of sesame oil, and then I'm going to put in some honey. This definitely has like a little bit of an Asian flair to it, but we really, really like Asian food. So this is just kind of a flavor profile that we gravitate to. But in the past, I've even used just plain barbecue sauce. If you're not using a smoker, you might consider putting in like half a teaspoon of liquid smoke just to kind of get that extra flavor. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. If you want to try this, I think this is fantastic. My family loves it, and I did taste it to make sure that it was on point, and it was. I popped that in the fridge, and now we'll use it when the ribs are done. I'm also going to cook some cauliflower to go on the side. I have shown this before on my channel. We love roasted cauliflower. All I do is chop it down into small little florets like that. And then I mix, for these 2 heads of cauliflower, I did about 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise. And then I use that Kinder's Master Blend. It's like salt, pepper, and garlic powder. And then I use some dill. Mix it all together, throw it in an air fryer, 400 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes, stirring it a couple of times in between so it's nice and crispy. It's got brown edges. It's our favorite way to eat cauliflower. It is super, super, super delicious. If you've not tried it that way, I highly, highly recommend it. It is fantastic. All right, I've pulled my ribs off the smoker, and now it is time for me to get ready to kind of rub them down with our sauce. I'm going to just be using my oven from this point on, just because I only need some high heat for just a few minutes. But as you can see, there are those boneless beef ribs. This is the first time I've ever cooked boneless beef ribs and actually liked them. I was very pleased with them this time. I will definitely make them again like this. They were super tender and juicy, and they fell apart, and so much flavor. It was so, so good. But I am pulling them out of that packet, and I'm just going to spoon just a little bit of that juice over the top just to kind of keep them from drying out while we broil them in the oven with our sauce. But as you can see, I was testing to see if they were nice and tender, and they were. I was very pleased with them. But yeah, I'm just going to spoon a little bit of that sauce over the top just to help keep them from drying out in this high heat we're going to use in a minute. And there's my pork ribs, and I'm just going to just brush the sauce all along the top. I'm going to use all the sauce that I made. The sauce is so, so good. We love it so much. But I'm going to brush all of it on top. Then I'm going to pop these under the broiler for just a few minutes till the sauce is all bubbly and delicious and caramelized. And that brings so much extra flavor to it. It is so, so good that way. My family loved this. And like I said, this time we actually really enjoyed the beef boneless ribs. I will definitely do them again. I've had tons of trouble with them in the past, but I finally found a method that I'm pleased with. And for sure, this meal is definitely going to happen again in my house. Everybody loved it. I hope you guys will try it. It was super delicious, and it's really easy. It takes a while, but not much prep work is involved. And there you see the finished product, that crispy cauliflower, the beautiful ribs, and I just served it with some couscous on the side. For the next night, we were having leftovers, but I wanted to try this creamy orzo dish that I saw, and so I'm going to share it with you guys because it was fantastic. I melted a tablespoon of butter with a tablespoon of olive oil in my pan, and then I added in 2 cups of orzo, and I'm just kind of sauteing them with a little bit of garlic for just a couple of minutes just to get a little bit of color on them. Not for long. Really, I don't think I let this cook for more than 3 minutes, maybe 4, but I just wanted a little bit of toastiness on a few of the orzo pieces. And then I'm just going to slowly start drizzling in some chicken stock. Now I just used chicken base mixed with some hot water, and it was 4 cups of hot water to 2 cups of orzo. And I did end up having to add just a little bit extra at the end because I felt like the orzo wasn't quite done enough. But basically, you're just going to add it in small increments and continue stirring very, very regularly, and until the orzo is completely done. And as you can see, it keeps it really rich and creamy and delicious. That starch comes out and it kind of just stays in the pasta. You're not going to drain it out with the water, and it makes for like a really nice creamy element to the orzo. I like it a lot. If you like things like macaroni and cheese, this is definitely right up your alley. For us, I only added in some Parmesan cheese, but I could definitely see putting in different kinds of cheeses cheddar, that kind of thing. I think this could definitely give macaroni and cheese a run for its money. But I just kind of continued to add in my liquid until it was completely gone. And then once the noodles were cooked through, I had this really nice creamy element to it. And I went ahead and put in 1 more tablespoon of butter. I added in 2 to 3 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, and I just had the powdery stuff in the can. I think fresh would have been much, much better, but this worked out anyway. And I did add in a little bit of heavy cream. You could use milk, not a big deal, just to kind of give it a little more sauciness, because I felt like it had absorbed a lot of the liquid at that point, and of course the Parmesan cheese had helped kind of soak it all up. But anyway, it was so good. I cannot recommend this enough. It was a little bit time consuming because you do have to stir it regularly. It took in total about 20 to 25 minutes. But oh my gosh, this was fantastic. I will definitely be making this again. My entire family liked it. And I just served it alongside our leftovers, and I did top it with a little bit of parsley. Okay, so for the next night, I decided to make fish cakes, which I have made on my channel before, but I'm doing them a little bit differently. So the first time I did them, I pretty closely followed the recipe. I will link that video down below so you can see measurements and how the original one was done. This time I decided I wanted to use salmon, but I always have a fear of overcooking salmon. So instead of cooking it twice like I would have for the original recipe, I decided to chop and dice the raw salmon. If you have a food processor, you can use that as well. I didn't feel like washing mine, and I know not everyone has one, so I'm showing you that you definitely can do it by hand. It didn't take me that long, maybe 5 or 6 minutes in total to chop and dice up this, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 pounds of salmon that I had. But do make sure that there is no skin on the bottom. You want to slice that off. They had done that at the grocery store for me, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I'm not even making this like a nice fine dice. It's just a rough chop, breaking it down a little bit, and then I'm going to put it all in this bowl. And I'm going to mix it with all of our seasonings, which is salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, dill, and smoked paprika, and a little bit of lemon juice. Then I'm going to add in about 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise. That's going to hold it all together. And then I will add in some breadcrumbs, and that just kind of helps us form the fish patties and makes them hold together. Again, I will link the original video so you guys can get all the measurements and see exactly how the original recipe was. I'm kind of doing this more to taste because this is a little bit different this time. I'm also going to make the aioli sauce that goes with it that I made before. And again, that recipe is included in that video. I'll link below, but it's basically just mayonnaise, dill, lemon juice, some salt and some pepper. It's super delicious though. It pairs beautifully with salmon. But I'm just going to get all of this together, and then we'll form some patties and we will get ready to cook these.
I don't like being on my own. I could use someone to hold. And I've been trying to fill the void, but my bed is getting cold. Cause I don't have you, I don't have us, at least not anymore. You said you had to go away just to figure out who you are. And I'm in this empty house with your pictures on my wall. But I don't have you, I don't have us, at least not anymore. Now I'm just waiting for love, waiting for love. Try to forget about you makes me restless. Waiting for love, waiting for love. I don't know what else I can do. It's hopeless to be holding on to you. I guess we forgot about the way we could sit and talk all night. We just let the good times pass and got caught up in our fights. I say I don't mind, but that's a lie. Thought we'd work it out. I've tried to let you go. Memories, they tend to stay. Doesn't matter anyway.
once those patties are formed, even with the large chunks, this held together really, really well. I was super excited because salmon is definitely our favorite fish. But once the patties are formed, I did put them in a hot skillet with just a little bit of oil in the bottom. And I'm just going to let them cook all the way through. Because these were bigger and thicker, I did feel the need to go ahead and pop a lid on for a little bit, just to make sure that they were cooking in the middle to help hold some of that heat in. And I definitely cooked them beautifully and got some awesome color on the bottom. I was so excited. They were nice and crispy on the bottom and brown. They were so delicious. I definitely loved the original recipe. Don't get me wrong. It was fantastic. But this was just as good. If you like salmon, this was so tasty. I really, really enjoyed this. And if you're looking for a new way to cook some fish, something different to do with your fish, think about this recipe. It is so, so good. I cannot recommend it enough.
Show me what it's like to be circling among the clouds. Because without you by my side, I would be stuck here on the ground. You're lighting up the way, I can see the road ahead of me. I won't be stumbling in the dark. Your eyes are shining like the stars. I was down until you saved me, until you set me free. My eyes were closed, now I see clear as day. And I just wanted to say that you can take me high. Feels like I can fly. You can take me high. I can see the sun staring at you when you make that smile. I'm moving closer to you now. I can't get close enough somehow. And I was down until you saved me, until you set me free. My eyes were closed, now I see clear as day. And I just wanted to say that you can take me high. Feels like I can fly. I don't need anybody, I don't need anybody else. No one will ever take me, no one will ever take me away from you. I promise I will hold on to you. I don't know what I'd do.
And there is the finished product. Those were so good. Oh my gosh. Amazing. If you guys have not tried the original recipe or this one, give it a shot now. It is worth it. Okay, so I almost didn't include this, but I was like, maybe somebody will find a little bit of inspiration from it. So I made taco burgers. I started off with some frozen taco meat that I had in my freezer, but if you don't have that, just brown up 1 pound of ground beef with some salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and chili powder, and then add in about 1/2 cup of taco sauce. It kind of gives it almost a sloppy joe consistency. It's like saucy and the meat holds together better, you know? And then I'm just going to pop that on a bun with some lettuce and tomatoes, cheese if you want it. And boom, you've got yourself a taco burger, Mexican sloppy joe, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, we served it with some tamales on the side because my husband stopped and got some, and tamales are amazing. That was dinner for this night. Quick, simple, and easy. Okay, so on to the final recipe of the week. Technically, I made these for my husband's lunches. It's not really a dinner, but I'm throwing it in here because it's a good recipe and I'm sure you guys can probably use it. So this is my recipe for, I guess it's cottage pie. I always call it shepherd's pie, but we don't use lamb, we use beef, so I guess that makes it cottage pie. I used to make it with lamb. That's like, it has such a gamey taste, ground lamb does. So I switched over to ground beef, and I guess now it really doesn't matter because I actually don't eat this very often. There's nothing wrong with it. It tastes fine. I'm just not like a meat and potatoes girl, and this is definitely meat and potatoes. My husband, he adores it. It's one of his favorites. So I do make it for his lunches, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I started off by browning a pound of ground beef, which, as you can tell, I forgot to thaw, so it's a little bit frozen, so I fought my way through it and got it to crumble down so it would eventually cook. My bad. Next time I will prepare better. This was quite the arm workout, let me tell you. But anyway, once I got it broken down, I did go ahead and cook it for a few minutes. When it was about halfway done, I tossed in half an onion all diced up. If you're doing more than 1 pound of beef, definitely go with the whole onion. You really want that onion flavor in here. I'm only doing 1 pound. Half an onion was perfect. So I'm just going to mix that all together and let it continue cooking for a little while. Now, you want some liquid from your meat, some grease, but not a ton. Mine had a whole lot. I only needed like maybe 2 tablespoons, and this probably had double that. So at the end of cooking, I did end up pulling out about 2 tablespoons of grease from the pan, but I left about 2 tablespoons in, and to that, I'm going to toss in about 2.5 tablespoons of flour. We're going to stir that around really well and cook out that flour taste. You want to also take this time to season. I am only putting in pepper because I'm about to add some beef broth base, and that stuff is so salty, so I did not add any salt to this. If you are using red wine or even beef broth, you might want to go ahead and add in a little bit of salt. But otherwise, if you're using my method, don't add any in, it'll be over the top. I'm also tossing in about 1 cup of frozen peas and carrots because they are perfect for this dish, and it's a nice, simple shortcut. And once I feel like the flour taste has mostly cooked out, I'm going to add in about a tablespoon or so of this beef base. And then I'm going to add in 2 cups of water. I know it looks like a lot, but trust the process. It's going to cook down. Basically, we're making a gravy for our meat. So you want to have a little bit extra so it can simmer and it can reduce and it can do its thing. I also added in about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, but I don't think I got that on film and I don't really know why. But it's in there, I promise. Anyway, we're going to stir this all together, make sure there's no lumps and no clumps in the liquid, and then we're just going to let it simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes, and it will reduce almost by half. I mean, it really gets rid of a lot of the liquid, more than you expect. As you can see, like when I stir it, the liquid had come to the top, but there's not a ton of it left. So the longer you cook it, the less liquid you're going to have. And then once you feel like it has reduced down to the place that you want it, we're good to move on to the next step. Now, if you can see, there's another pot on my stove, and I am making some instant mashed potatoes. Yes, homemade from scratch mashed potatoes taste way better, but it is like 8:30 on a Sunday morning, and I don't feel like making homemade mashed potatoes, so instant it is. Either way works fine. You know, you do whatever works for you. This is just my little shortcut method for getting this meal together on a Sunday morning, so my husband has lunches all week. I divided the meat mixture up into 4 little plastic containers for him. Then I'm simply going to top it with these instant potatoes. I followed the package directions and I added in a whole bunch of cracked black pepper because that's the way he likes it. And I'm just going to cover the whole top of the meat with the potatoes. Now, if you were making this at home for your family, put it in a casserole dish, put the mashed potatoes on top, and basically seal them around the edge. You really want them covering everything up against the edge of the dish the whole bit, and then you're going to bake it for like 20 to 30 minutes. The meat mixture is going to start to bubble underneath it. It's going to get beautiful. A little browning is going to happen on top of the mashed potatoes. It's really quite pretty, and it is quite delicious. He's taking these for lunches, so I just put them in individual dishes, and he will heat them up accordingly throughout the week as he is ready for lunch. And it's pretty easy and pretty simple, and it makes him really happy. So there you go. All right, guys, that is the last recipe for this week. And that is all I have. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, or feel free to give me some recipe suggestions. I am always open to new ideas. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to all my new subscribers out there. I love you guys all so much, and I will see you guys really soon with another video. Bye.